They just took a whole ability out of the mob, man. And the thing is, this is kind of happening midway through the season, right? And it's weird because they probably should have happened earlier. Okay, so the hot fixes that were live on reset this week. Explosive fixes, which we can always appreciate more explosive fixes, especially on dungeons like Algeth'ar Academy, where you spawn like 20-30 ads at one time if like all of them properly procced explosives. I think those are the hungry lashers, right? Then it would get crazy. Nobody would be doing ads. Everybody would be doing explosives. And now we're getting into the meaty stuff. Azure Vaults, Arcane Fury's piercing shards now impact damage reduced by 30%. So for everybody who doesn't know, if I'm not mistaken, Arcane Furies are the big elemental dudes in the ring side of the dungeon that focus the tank and shoot the piercing shards in the tank's direction. And if you have played Azure Vault on any decent level of fortified and the tank pointed that towards the group would be dead. That happens so many times. So many times. Unstable Curator's Forbidden Knowledge cooldown increased. Okay. Arcane Construct health reduced by 25%. That is good and obviously fortified. Crystal Thrasher no longer use splintering shards. They just took a whole ability out of the mob, man. Well, listen, we're not gonna, lower the damage or increase the cooldown. We're just gonna take it away. That sounds like a balanced solution to the problem of Azure Vault. Null Magic Hornswoggle health reduced by 15%. Okay, that's some health reduces. Okay, because for whatever reason, like even when we had like decent Azure Vaults, like no excessive deaths, no actual wipes, we were doing okay, and it's not like we were under geared. We still had a hard time timing it, obviously on fortified. So all of these health nerfs, I guess it depends on your route and how many of these mobs you actually include, but all of these health nerfs are very welcome. Telash Greywing, this is the second to last boss. Telash Greywing health reduced by 10%. Now, we fought him on Tyrannical. It was the thing is, this fight just gets boring because there's not much going on here. So the health percentage reduced is whatever. Okay, but there's now a 2-second delay before players take damage from frozen ground after Frostbomb. Listen, as a healer, I cannot tell you how good this is because on Tyrannical, the first tick of the frozen ground is anywhere from 30% to 60% of a target's HP. And I can imagine the boys and gals that are doing Azure Vaults at like 20 and higher on Tyrannical. This is nuts. It's almost... I can see this almost one-shotting. Well, now you have 2 seconds to get out of it, so it should be plenty of time. But it is crazy how hard the first tick is. Because you can pretty much get out of it pretty quick. And now the last boss health reduced by 15%. Yeah, the fight is excessively long sometimes, I can agree. Because it has like a softened rage with the amount of arcane little orbies that just fly around everywhere. Oppressive Miasma reduces movement speed by 6% per stack, down from 7%. Quality of life, cool. It still stacks to like 60% movement speed reduction. It's obviously better than 70%. And it's not that bad, actually. I think it doesn't invalidate the mechanic completely. Another contender, Ruby Life Pulse. Dude, I think, like, we've played Ruby Life Pulse today and it still fell hard. So first of all, the reduced damage from Primalist Cinderweave Cinderbolt by 50%. That has been reduced. That's okay. I think we had plenty of these go through and it was fine. Even if it's Tyrannical. On Tyrannical weeks, these used to chunk people so hard. And the problem with these is that if you didn't have enough kicks, you couldn't really pull too big. And the pulls in Ruby Life Pulls there are weird anyway, because it's hard to pull big anyway because of the big elementals that hardly move and cast a lot, and you cannot kick much. Reduce the periodic damage of Thunderhead's Rolling Thunder by 30%. I think this is the Thunder Dragon, right? Reduce the damage of Flame Gullet's Molten Bloods and the damage of Blaze Bound Destroyer's Inferno by 25%. Okay, so overall, these are a big chunk of damage reductions, which is all fine and dandy. Okay, listen, on Fortified, it feels like you can probably deal with this somehow. You can stun, you have kicks, you have more options. But I think where Ruby Life Pull gets really nutty is on bosses. And we did play Tyrannical this week. And even with that, seems a little bit off. Meladrusa, Chill Worm, Infused Wolves no longer spawn explosive orbs. Yes, these types of mechanics should exactly function like this. Like when a boss spawns like 15 ads, they don't spawn explosive orbs. Because remember, if you've played explosive for the first time, or I don't know if it was in Legion as well, but definitely in BFA, the Nightmares of Temple of Citralis with every little ad that kept spawned explosive orbs in the big ass arena, and we might have the dungeon in the Mythic pool one day. That was the worst explosive week ever. Blaze, the second boss, increases the cast time of Blaze Bounce, Firestorm, Roaring Blaze to 3 seconds, was 2 seconds. This is okay because it felt like last week when we did it on Tyrannical, we just didn't have enough kicks. Like, I was on Boomy, and I was definitely hindering my group because I was a caster and didn't have a quick kick. Having the cast time increase to 3 seconds not only lets you kick a little bit later, but also every cast, if you let it cast as much as possible, it gives you an extra second to get your kick back or to get the next player's kick back so that you can actually interrupt all of them as you would. Blaze, I think we kind of felt it was a little bit easier this week. Karaka and Storm Vein reduce the periodic damage of Karaka's Inferno Core by 20. Oh my god, didn't we just, like, even with the nerf, and we still died to this. This is still a lot of damage. It's good. It's obviously better, but it's still really brutal. This is the same type of the same style of mechanic like Grey Wing, where it really starts to hit really quickly as it spawns, I feel, because I had the ticks on me, and as soon as the puddles dropped, I died like multiple times today. This is still rough. It's obviously better, but we'll see. Reduce the damage of Warcraft Storm Vein interrupting Cloudburst by 30%. Ah, this is so good because it does so much damage on top of interrupting. It's already a melee heavy meta. This boss is so destructive for range DPS. I cannot stress this enough how frustrating it is to have to cast here. And I play Boomy, and Boomy needs to cast every now and again, but thankfully I can get away with just like spamming Moonfire and Sunfire, which is not ideal for my rotation, but it's better than other classes might have. Not that they have to like stop casting and don't really have a good option. Like I'm thinking of my Devastation, what I would do whenever I had to stop casting because I either had to move or have to like stop casting for the interrupt Cloudburst. I would just, I don't know, Azure Strike. That's what I would probably do, and that's just poop. Oh, these nerfs are so good, and it just goes to show how out of tune they are. I wonder if they're going to address Fenrir's bleed mechanic more in the future dungeons. I don't know what you guys think. What is your worst dungeon? Because these are actually the ones that I struggle the most. I could get away with a rough Halls of Valor Fenrir fight on Tyrannical, but these fights were just nuts. Ah, thank God.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.